Today on episode 42 of the Sean and Bo Show, A-Rod would like you to hang his handwritten apology letter on your refrigerator.
Dez Bryant's getting ready to catch a franchise tag, and he's about to throw a tantrum.
And even if you're not a race fan, Bo will explain why you should be watching the Daytona 500 this weekend, plus what would it take for you to go on a one-way trip to Mars. It's all coming up on the Sean and Bo Show. Yes, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back. Once again, episode 42 of the Sean and Bo Show. I'm Sean O'Donnell, joined as always by my co-host, Bo Greer. And Bo, for the first weekend since football, I was actually entertained, and it had nothing to do with sports. Well, virtually nothing. We just caught a couple of college basketball games that are pretty decent. But this weekend was all about SNL 40, the big anniversary show, which everybody was talking about on Twitter and was highly entertaining. And Better Call Saul, a show that I'm now comparing already with Breaking Bad. Great TV. So I was satiated finally, even without football. It was a good weekend. I had plenty of couch time. But you were watching a little bit of the NBA All-Star festivities?
Yeah, I watched a little bit of the NBA All-Star festivities, and I have to say this. I hope you guys agree out there, Sean and Bo Show Nation. I think the celebrity game was way better than the game where they actually had the NBA All-Stars.
Oh, yeah, I saw the one gif of Monet Davis spinning past Kevin Hart.
Yeah, it was just cool. Kevin Hart was out there going hard. Dude looked like he was training for this game. I mean, it was just fun to watch that because you actually seen more defense in that game than you did the whole All-Star game.
Yeah, the only part of the All-Star weekend that I saw was just a little bit of the three-point competition. Like, I saw a 10-second highlight of the dunk contest, and I was like, oh, this is why I didn't watch.
Oh, and the other thing that the NBA Celebrity All-Star Game proves to me and my fans and all of our middle-aged sports fans out there that like to eat way too much while we watch sports, I guarantee after watching Kevin Hart and everybody else, Monet Davis, and you know they put WNBA players out there.
Yeah.
I could play in the WNBA. Sign me up.
I don't know if you have the physical attributes necessary to be a member of the WNBA, Bo.
I know. I don't have that, but let's just consider
you're gonna need some duct tape or something. Get you some pantyhose.
A surgery. But let's just go ahead and consider me being out of shape, bad knees, played college football. My right hand has a ring finger that points in three directions. So we'll take that, and that's my handicap. And just sign me up. Whoever the new commissioner is, I'll go play for the Indiana team.
Could you even palm a basketball with that busted up hand of yours?
It's really funny how I have to do it. I kind of have to like sit it in the cup in between the thumb and the number one finger there, and it's weird. My kids are amazed that I can still palm a basketball with this finger pointing in every which direction.
The thing that annoyed the hell out of me out of the All-Star weekend was LeBron James talking about like how he wished he would have played or participated in the dunk contest. You're not retired and you're not dead. You can still do it, LeBron.
Yeah. Just put on some weight and calm down. All these guys, so many people are so afraid. And, hey, we know what happened to my man up at the Pacers. He broke his leg in Las Vegas throwing down a nice slammer jammer. So anything's possible. I know that. There's billions of dollars on the line with these guys. But the last thing I want, Joe Public, drinking my six-pack in the garage, is for you to sit there and tell me how you wished you would have played in this game. Buddy, get out of here. We don't have time for that.
Give the fans what they want, for crying out loud. I mean, that I would watch that. I'm sure LeBron, he had that sweet alley-oop dunk in the actual game, but come on, the people want to see you in a dunk contest, buddy.
Yeah, it's really nice to see baseball. I was just telling you before the show, I love the baseball All-Star game. The only thing that is bad, you can't really push the pitchers because they are owned by other teams and they need to stay in the rotations. But other than that, I'm pretty sure the Major League Baseball All-Star Game has the best quality of the sport because they can play defense without hurting each other and they can score runs without hurting each other.
And, of course, you get the home run derby where you get to hear Berman go back for an hour and a half.
How many more years do I have to listen to that?
You love Berman.
I used to love it, but now it's just getting ridiculous. Sometimes he says back, and the ball didn't even get out of the park. He messes up. It's like his eyesight's getting bad.
I think I mentioned it last year, but my favorite part of that is just the little leaguers out there in the outfield mugging each other, trying to catch those flies.
Yeah. Back when you were a kid, what is it about a flying baseball hit by a major league player that makes you think you're going to be able to catch that ball and cash in for a Corvette?
Yeah.
Like when you're a kid, you think that ball has all the value in the world.
Well, speaking of baseball, if you're in Boston, you've been dealing with a whole hell of a lot of snow this winter. And that sucks and all, but on the bright side, you could parlay all the snow into some free Red Sox tickets. Big problem in Boston right now is apparently the fact that because they plow all the roads and people shovel out their cars and their driveways and all that mess, that a lot of the fire hydrants that are on city corners have 4 feet of snow on top of them. So like I guess the other day a home burnt down because the firefighters had to locate and then dig out a fire hydrant. So the Red Sox are on an organizational level doing something really great for the city of Boston. They have offered fans 2 tickets if you go dig out 5 fire hydrants. That's a sweet deal. I mean, how long could that possibly take?
Those are the types of things, if you ever lived in a small town that had a historic type tradition where you guys won a lot of state titles. If you've lived in a nice town like Boston where you've got to see, Red Sox, Patriots, you're taken in by those things. And the local government can use that. And it's nice to see because, we put up with all these athletes and the things they do, Aaron Hernandez, whatever you name it, John Bones Jones. But whenever you see things like this, all the hundreds of $1 million they make off a TV deal, the stats that are thrown out there to us every day letting us know that the NFL could still make $4 billion a year if nobody purchased a ticket and we just all stayed at home on our couches and watched the game from the commercial revenue and TV revenue. They can afford to do more things like this. You know which one I would like to see? This would be my favorite one in some of these cities because I know being a teacher, this has to be a problem.
Yeah.
How about they give tickets out to the parents who never come to parent-teacher conferences? Like, little Billy can't read, little Billy can't do A, B, C, and D, but you never come in to talk to me on how we can fix this. Just think about that. It's like, what if I could just give out some tickets and make people care about their kids?
Yeah, if we had a team in Albuquerque worth going to see, even UNM basketball sucks this year, so good luck with that.
No, I'm having some fun. People, that football's over. There's not a whole lot of football to talk about. But just could you imagine sitting next to that guy? You're like, hey, buddy, how'd you score these seats? Oh, I went to a parent-teacher conference.
Could you imagine how pathetic that would be if it took like some isotope minor league baseball tickets to get some parent interested in their kid's education?
I'm telling you, though, hey.
Little Billy finds out.
They could have put that on the local news 1,000 times telling people, hey, fire hydrants are buried by snow. People's homes are burning down. Nobody cares. But you say, hey, you can go see David Ortiz for free. There are probably people knifing each other to clean off fire hydrants in Boston.
Well, the cool thing about it is like there's not a limit. So if you and your 10 buddies get together,
yes,
you can all work together, and it's 2 tickets per 5 fire hydrants. So you could just have a mob of people taking care of this whole situation in a few hours. Probably some beer involved if I know Boston sports fans.
Yes.
But it's a cool gesture, and I mean if I was there. Hell, you're snowed in. You don't have anything else to do. Might as well.
You know who probably cleaned off the most hydrants, though, before anybody? Are those guys that are professional ticket scalpers. You know who they are.
Yeah,
they live in, like, I just remember in Indianapolis being a kid going to Colts games, and I'd ask my dad, like, Dad, why does that guy get to go to every game? Because every time we come to a game, he's out here selling people tickets like, oh, he's a scalper, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, guarantee all the scalpers in Boston probably hit up every fire hydrant and going to make a killing this
Well, it's more than they've worked for those tickets they're going to scalp, so at least they did something.
They actually worked for them this time. I never looked at it like that.
Well, earlier today, Alex Rodriguez issued a handwritten formal apology. No press conference or anything like that, but in this mea culpa, he said, quote, I take full responsibility for the mistakes that led to my suspension for the 2014 season. I regret that my actions made the situation worse than it needed to be to Major League Baseball, the Yankees, the Steinbrenner family, the Players Association, and you, the fans. I can only say I'm sorry. He continued with, I accept the fact that many of you will not believe my apology. Yeah. Or anything that I say at this point. I understand why, and that's on me. It was gracious of the Yankees to offer me the use of Yankee Stadium for the apology, but I decided the next time I am in Yankee Stadium, I should be in pinstripes doing my job.
Oh my gosh. Like, I can't stand this guy. I'm so sick of him. He makes way too much money for what he does. And I think it's real convenient for a guy like himself to release this statement on the same day that the guy who was giving him the juice gets sentenced to 4 years.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a second.
Yeah, it has to be. This statement is so full of attorneys, PR people. The FBI probably had something to do with this statement. Just get out of here, A-Rod. I wish he's another one of those guys that I could just do without in my daily sports digest. I don't need you. You're the reason I have to drink Pepto-Bismol after I watch sports, A-Rod. You make me sick.
That and the sausages.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
But you know what's interesting? Today, the Yankee organization also retired Andy Pettit's number, and that's a guy that admitted that he used some steroids. He'd claimed that it was just a few times, it was just to help the team, blah, 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 blah. But it just goes to show you, and I don't necessarily think this is the case for A-Rod because he's just in too deep at this point, but this is a country that's all about second chances.
Yeah.
It's a country where, people will accept your apology usually, and that's the case for Pettit.
Yeah, I would think I was on Reddit, as I bring up on this show all the time. You guys can tell whenever Bo's bored, he's prowling through Reddit. And I think it was an article about a Canadian serial killer, and he had been released and he killed again. And it blew my mind because I'm like, well, I didn't think people who were serial killers got to get back out, so I had to look it up.
I didn't think that people that were serial killers lived in Canada.
Yeah, and that blew my mind there. Lock your doors up there after that Michael Moore documentary a few years ago. We're not believing that anymore. But here we go. I think that there are people who can be rehabilitated, and that's the key. They are honest with themselves. They're honest with those around them, the parties that they harmed or affected. A-Rod, I've never felt that. Even when he did his interviews on ABC and everybody was watching, the man looked like he was lying through his teeth the whole time.
Yeah.
He's done.
And just like apathetic about it too. I think that's what really rubs people the wrong way. It's like not only are you not remorseful at all, but you don't seem to think it's that big of a deal.
That's it. And I mean, let's think about this. This guy had an ESPN cover, and at the time he had just become one of the highest paid players. The University of Miami gives him an honorary degree, knowing that A-Rod, I don't even think, finished high school. And he's like the toast of the town. And what did he do? Remember that famous ESPN article? He goes down in the ghetto where he was raised, like basically takes off all his clothes and poses on a mattress. Like,
if you or I did that, we'd get arrested, though.
Exactly. And I was just thinking, he doesn't have it in between the years where you need it to make $200 million. He's not the type of guy that the American people, the Yankees, or any organization needs to trust with $1 million. We see what he will do with it. He's going to go get PEDs. He's going to lie. And then when everybody's going to jail, and he should be on that bus also, he's going to release a statement and say he's sorry and think that's going to fix everything. Not going to work, A-Rod.
Well, as you had mentioned, the mastermind of the whole Biogenesis Medical Clinic, Anthony Bosch, he was sentenced in Florida. Like you said, 4 years, not too much of a shock to anybody. The judge said this defendant was the most culpable in this conspiracy. No real surprise. The guy was guilty. We all know he was guilty. What I thought this was interesting from this ESPN article, something that I did not know, was that Bosch has been undergoing treatment for cocaine addiction ever since his guilty plea.
There you go.
A hell of a guy.
Yeah. That's exactly the kind of guy I want putting needles in my rear end.
Yeah, he probably has plenty of needles laying around. But, I mean, this is something, we're seeing it now in the UFC a lot, that steroids are a big problem. And as much as Major League Baseball tries to crack down on this, I think we're going to see it in sport. We're going to see athletes trying to get a chemical advantage any way they can. So there's gonna be another Anthony Bosch.
I'm gonna say what my grandpa told me and every other old person I've ever talked sports with. You know who they blame for all this mess? Jumping Joe DiMaggio.
How so?
When Joe DiMaggio decided to get paid more than the president, this is the result, and it's going to continue, and it's going to continue, and this is why. Whenever you pay a guy $13 million a year, I don't care if he's in the NFL and he's Russell Wilson, and he's only going to make $800,000 a year. Whenever they finally get that contract that is worth what they are worth to you, the team, and what they feel they're worth to the city and that organization, this is the worst part about it. The teams and the money men know that the real money's made in the second life of that contract, when they can try and get you down. Well, we're going to keep you, but let's make this one incentive-based, kind of like Tom Brady's been doing the past couple contracts. And eventually, you start to get these guys that are holding on. And you're like, well, why are they holding on? Just walk away. You got $50 million in the bank. Kobe, go home, man. Spend your money. They can't do it. It's just, I often wonder if some of these contracts, if we can read through them with a trained eye, a lawyer, whatever, agent, you could see how much money some of these guys end up paying back if they don't get to year 4 or 5 and 6 of this contract. This is a young man's game. Mm-hmm. I go out and try to run around with my 8-year-old son and play basketball with him. It hurts now. It doesn't feel like it used to when I would play nonstop, full court basketball all summer at the hottest part of the day. And my grandma would say, "You're going to have a heat stroke." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm 15. Now I would have a heat stroke." It is a young man's game. The only way I could compete with the kids in my high school, I'm not even going to act like I could play college football right now. The only way I could go out there for a full season and play Friday Night Lights like a high school kid is if I was on some sort of PED regiment.
Or if we could get you in one of those WNBA games.
Oh, there you go. Now, I don't need PEDs for that.
Yeah.
I'm good. Man, come on. They're out there on the court with all these celebrities, Monet Davis, and you don't look like you're in the WNBA. If I was out there, I'd be killing them fools. Gosh, I want to play a celebrity all-star game. We need to grow this podcast.
Well, speaking of trying to hold on, and this is sort of an update to a story we were talking about last week, Bo, but I heard earlier today that Wes Welker is coming back for another season. Somebody pull this man aside and ask him if he would like to be able to remember his grandkids' names in a decade from now. This is just a terrible, terrible idea.
Yeah, it's just conversations I have with family. My son, he's not playing football in the tackle sense. He's doing flag football until I have him in junior high. I think in 7th, 8th grade is when I'll start letting him tackle. And it's like my grandfather says to me on the phone, he said, "Man, I was sitting there watching the Tony Dorsett interview." And to my grandfather, those guys are unstoppable. Those are the men, Jim Brown. Those are the guys, Tony Dorsett. You just go through that list and you look at all these Hall of Famers now that are telling us that they're having trouble remembering where they parked their car. They can't get up out of the bed. And you just have to say to yourself, we all played football way too long and way too early. We didn't need to be out there carrying the ball 135 times at the age 6. It's just a little too early for that. Now, if we allow these players to play later, and then in the way practice is and the way the games are, I think we can start to get these numbers down. It's like you said to me, there's no such thing as a safe collision for the head.
Right.
It'll never happen. I don't care if you're in a race car. Gosh, there was a girl that they were talking about has severe concussion problems because of the way she could jump and hit the soccer ball with her head. And she didn't know she was getting mild concussions while doing this. And now she's in her 30s and she's having all these concussion symptoms like football players. We know this now. We got to stop.
Oh, they say it even happens with like people that are into water sports, like wakeboarders.
Okay.
People that are constantly like slapping against the water at high speeds, because it's just like you said. It's not that there are a bunch of huge hits that are the real problem. It's the small micro concussions and the frequency of them. That cause these real bad symptoms later on in life. So you take a guy like Wes Welker, who it's not just about frequency, because he's certainly been hit a lot, but he's also been blown up, lots and lots and lots of times. So it's the worst of both worlds for a guy like Wes.
Yeah, and I want to do this for the show, for myself, for everybody. I need to start looking at these contracts. I want to know the ins and outs, because you can't tell me, golly, human nature, we're lazy. I mean, people, this is America, land of the free, home of the brave. And you know what else we're home of? A whole bunch of broke lotto winners. Because the minute we get money, we get lazy. So you can't tell me when I'm looking at the Wes Welkers, Kobe Bryants of the world, there is not some small little financial problem. It may not be a financial problem to you and I, but to a guy who earned $260 million and he's only got 45 left, You know what I mean? You'd be hanging on two.
They want to be able to get the new Bentley every year for the next decade and a half.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just go get a Chevy, man. It's okay. We're not going to make fun of you. We know how much you have, really. We all drive old Chevys.
Bo, do you remember that series of commercials back in the day? For Budweiser, I think the Real American Heroes.
Oh, yes.
Do you know why they changed that to Real Men of Genius? By the way, 9/11. Yeah, they didn't want to offend anybody with the whole American hero thing, so they changed it to Real Men of Genius.
I've always wondered that.
But this story would absolutely make one of those commercials. Just the headline alone, which I saw at SB Nation. Headline reads, Turkish hero denied a sensible 24 beers by terrible policeman. This Turkish soccer fan tried to smuggle in 24 beers on his person.
Wow.
It wasn't like a bag or anything. I'm like strapped to his body. And I mean,
probably looked like a bomb. I mean, that would look like a bomb. If you had that many beers on you, cans, bottles, I don't care. You look like you got a bomb on you, man.
I'm always nervous about like trying to smuggle in just one little hip flask or something like that. That's some cojones, man.
Yeah, that dude right there, I imagine being from the country he's from, he may get approached by some people to, maybe extend his smuggling skills. This time, though, you can't get caught.
That's true. Yeah, you don't want to go in those Turkish prisons. Not fun places.
No.
Coming up on the show, the NFL Combine starts this week. Jameis Winston has found a very interesting training partner. We're going to talk about that. Plus, Dez Bryant is not happy with the Cowboys.
No.
And Bo is sweating. It's all coming up on the Sean and Bo Show. Hey, it's Sean from the Sean and Bo Show reminding you, follow us on Twitter at Sean and Bo Show. Bo, I was so damn happy last night. I got my favorite female sports reporter, Britt McHenry, to notice me on Twitter. It was glorious. Lots of funny interactions there. We also comment on shows like Better Call Saul or whatever we're watching on TV, interact with a bunch of sports reporters, celebrities, all that kind of stuff. So please follow us on Twitter at Sean and Bo Show.
Welcome back to the Sean and Bo Show. And, we're going to start this one off talking more draft talk, but we're not going to talk about the things you think we're going to talk about with the draft. Last week, if you remember, we were talking about a beautiful car that they will be giving away to the 40-yard dash winner. I hope that goes well. This week, Sean, you told me something else is coming up with the draft. What is that?
Well, the Combine starts this week, and players are planning out their strategies for the Combine. The debate's always, if you're a quarterback that's going to go in the first or the second round, do you even throw at the Combine? Is it worth it for your professional career in the future? Blah, blah, blah. Well, Jameis Winston has found a pretty good mentor. Him, along with Bryce Petty of Baylor, have been preparing for the Combine at Michigan with Coach Harbaugh. According to Ian Rappaport, they've been up at the football facility at Michigan the past 3 days preparing for the NFL Combine. And, if I'm being honest, as much of a football fan as I am, probably the part of the Combine I'm looking forward to most at this point is seeing Rich Eisen's 40-yard dash time. I mean, it used to be important. We used to, not have the internet access. There used to not be this level of digital film out there for people to ingest, and you couldn't always you couldn't always DVR games, and you had to choose which game you were going to watch, so you couldn't see player X or player Y.
Yeah.
But nowadays, is it even necessary?
No, I think it's the biggest waste of time. Just look at the past few years. In our lifetime, the guys that we continue to watch in the playoffs, the guys going to Super Bowls, Aaron Rodgers, sit there for way too long. Tom Brady wasn't even at the New York. He didn't even get an invite. Mr. Irrelevant, basically, as far as I'm concerned when it comes to Tom Brady. Who cares anymore? And we're sitting here, we're watching the Michigan State game that's on, and Jameis is there. You pointed that out to me, and I guess you've seen Harbaugh doing something.
Yeah, they cut to Harbaugh eating a pepperoni pizza while at the game.
Yes, and it's
classic.
I really think that's the level of the Combine and the draft. To me, they're all just put in the one. Personally, I did a pro day. I got ready for the draft. I think, 2,300 players enter. And only, it's weak numbers. Like less than a 200 get
Yeah, a few
selected.
hundred tops.
It's like, it's something crazy like that. So even as a player, you go into this thing knowing that I have just as good a chance of getting a call as the other 1,300 of these guys. But the Jameis Winstons, the Bryce Pettys, they're going to get their call. They're going to get their free agency chance. So really, to me, what the draft is about and what I'm looking for that guy nobody's talking about. I mean, what are you going to really – are you going to sound like a genius if you're sitting here saying, man, that Bryce Petty, I told you guys he was going to be great. He only threw for 600 yards a game in the Big 12. Like, really? No, what's going to make you feel like a genius is seeing that kid from Southwest Missouri State who runs a 4.6 that everybody was a little nervous about because he wasn't that fast. But, man, he runs a clean route, and this dude catches everything within 4 yards of it. That's the guys we want to see. And unfortunately, I know this. Get invited to that combine, it is so political. It is the most political thing ever. There's so many guys that don't go to the combine, and then most people don't even know this. They have another combine a few months later in June. Did you know that?
Yeah, for like the players that it's like a lesser version of it.
Yeah, it's basically what it has is the like Canadian football leagues are there, USFL, all that kind of stuff. But there have been guys go to that draft that we watch that are starters now. And you didn't even know they were there.
Well, it's just so stupid these days. Like, one of the most important parts of the combine is like where they measure guys' hands, to make sure that they can grip I mean, come on, guys. Is this really televised? Do we really need to endure this?
Look at his hands. Look how big they are. Get out of here. Filling TV, it's why the NFL Network and all them and cable, they're losing money left and right. Because I think this was cool for us. In like the early 2000s, we got all this information. It's just internet and 24/7 news. You could turn to Fox Business and just watch people talk about money. Like, you could be addicted to whatever you wanted for like a decade in this country. And then we got to a point where like, are we really going to talk about if he's going to run in the Nikes or the Adidas? This is what all this information has graduated to. Now we're worried about, well, did you know that this receiver eats only red Skittles? Get out of here. Who cares?
They should spice it up. They should have like the quarterbacks out there doing a two-step routine so that they know what they're going to look like when they get the happy feet in the pocket when they get drafted by an NFL team with a terrible O-line.
Or like, I'm not going to jump the gun too far here. My NASCAR, I've already moved into that. Apparently, Dell Jr. knows that it takes exactly 12 beers for him to get on the dance floor. How about we get the guys out there, prevent a few PR disasters, sit them all at tables like it's a nightclub in the middle of Lucas Oil Field, turn the lights on low, you put Aaron Andrews out there, get some of the hotties, get them drinking. And then the first one to make a jackass of himself, his draft status dropped.
Could have like elevator simulators, stuff like that.
Yes.
Have the offensive lineman in baked potato eating contest.
Yeah.
These are gold. These are good ideas.
Real things that they're going to try and do. There are so many things you could accomplish at the combine that would be way more entertaining than just watching guys who we already know are fast running a straight line.
Well, we know this guy tends to get a little bit upset on the sideline of games. And although the season isn't even upon us yet, Dez Bryant might already be throwing a bit of a tantrum. It's looking like the Cowboys are going to slap him with a franchise tag, and he's not at all happy about that. He retweeted somebody earlier who said, "I love how dedicated that Dez Bryant is to the Dallas Cowboys." He appended that by saying, "I wish they felt the same way." But it's cool. It's hashtag business.
Yeah, that cool is the same type of cool that a guy or a girlfriend tells their partner after they catch them doing something they're not too pleased with. It's like, wait till we get home. We'll talk about this. Oh, it's fine now. Let's just wait till we get home. Yeah, behind closed doors, these meetings between agents, family, because you got to remember Dez Bryant's family is a big part of him, his entourage, which Jerry has often said isn't a problem. He knows those people, treats them like family. So now here's these people that are extended family. Nobody's coming around, Happy Valley Ranch with a smile on their face. Unfortunately, I'm going to give everybody the truth, and you're not going to like this if you're a DeMarco Murray fan. Dez Bryant is flat out getting screwed. This man came in the league 2010, 561 yards, receiving 6 touchdowns. And I'm just going to go all the way up to which is now 2014 season we just finished. He went 928 and 9 touchdowns. Then he went for 1382, 12 touchdowns. Dropped about 100 yards, went for 1233 because remember he had some injury issues, and 13 touchdowns in 13. And then this last season just finished with 16 TDs, 1,320 yards. There's only 23 other receivers that even broke 1,000 yards. And if you look at how many passes are thrown in the NFL today and how many receivers are on the field, sometimes 5, I was really surprised by that number. You figure there'd be quite a few more guys getting to 1,000 yards. Now you jump over to the running back side, which we know they're going to pay DeMarco Murray. And
do we know that?
It's been said, and I really think that this is the way it's going. If you're going to franchise tag Dez, it is so hard to say franchise tag and Dez in the same sentence.
A lot of Z's.
Yeah, it's just really difficult. I'm asking you, what would you do? Just because I don't
see. I thought for sure that they were going to let DeMarco Murray walk and get Adrian Peterson or somebody like that at a big discount.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I saw Jarrett going. But
if he's going to, because to use the franchise tag on Dez Bryant is telling me you're spending that money somewhere else. So it has to be, because the offensive linemen aren't coming up for contracts. Romo's paid. Everybody's paid. It means he's going to spend this on the running back. It's the only logical explanation. And I'm going to tell you why this is the wrong thing, and I hope Jerry's listening, which I know he is.
Of course he is.
He is always listening. Yeah. Dez Bryant, compared to DeMarco Murray statistically, this man crushes him. 800 yards, 600 yards, 1,100 yards, and the most famous rushing title season, 1,800 yards. That says to me inconsistency. His carries during that time fluctuated almost 200 more carries this season than he had seen the previous 3 due to injuries and just being out and missing games. I'm not putting my money in that. And I would hope Jerry Jones is smart enough not to put his money in that.
I wonder what the minimum deal he would take would be. Like, what, 2 years? I doubt he would sign up for that.
He has to get more than Megatron, I feel. And I know people say, oh, you're a Cowboys fan. That's stupid. You don't do that. What Dez has done, Megatron hasn't been able to do. And I'm going to point this out to everybody. Who's vocal? Who's got their helmet off yelling at people on the sideline? Who, to all the old Cowboys greats who are not in the locker room, like Troy Aikman and Moose, don't understand him? The guys who are the most misunderstood on a team are always your leader. You don't know why he does that. You don't know why he gets away with it. But now I'm starting to figure this out.
Well, he also has a Dallas Cowboys security detail that has to follow his behind around everywhere.
And would you say we were 8-8 4 seasons in a row, right? Mm-hmm. All I see is Dez Bryant's production going up the whole time on an 8-8 team. That's hard to do. How in the heck do you get your production up 500 yards each season? And if he continues, he's going to do some crazy stuff next year.
He's super young. I mean,
he's young.
He obviously has a big chunk of his career. I mean, he probably hasn't even hit the halfway point yet, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, and I know football people, you have to protect against these guys like the Dez Bryants. You run him in motion, you bring him around behind the quarterback, you send him flying down the sideline at 100 mile an hour. You have to think about him. Linebackers have to account for him. Safeties. And you know what that does? It pulls them out of the middle and makes them think about other things. And then DeMarco Murray or whoever the running back may be can get that 5 yards to carry. That's all we're experiencing. We finally have the threat to go with the offensive line. We don't need a high-paid running back. Let's get off this topic because I'm getting ready to start crying.
Well,
if I lose Dez Bryant.
Yeah, I was going to say you better keep that man happy because I know of a certain team that could use a nice wide receiver like Mr. Bryant.
And he's from Big 12 country. They love bringing them Big 12 kids up to KC and stuff.
Yeah, I'd love that. Well, this is a fight that I'm looking forward to perhaps more than Mayweather-Pacquiao. I don't know if you know this, Bo. John Bones Jones. This is probably one of the most athletically gifted families I've ever heard of.
Okay.
He's, of course, the champion in the UFC. His brother Chandler plays for the Patriots, and yet another brother that played in the NFL. They're all beasts. They're all professional athletes. And his brother Chandler says that he can take John Jones at a fight.
Well, probably believe it.
He's got 60 pounds on him, and apparently he's been training with Gronk. That's right. That's who you need in your corner if you're preparing for a fight. Mr. Gronkowski, who's apparently stopped dancing just long enough to weigh in on this matter. A reporter recently asked, "Hey, who you got your money on if this happens, Gronk?" And Gronk responded, I got Chandler. I've been training him all week. And then Gronk ripped the dolphin hat off of the reporter and spiked it. Love it.
That's an interesting story. That
we're going to do this all for charity, too. That was the plan.
You think it's all to also rescue brother from his mistakes recently?
I think he's still sitting pretty. I mean,
well, no, I just think it's not that. It's just that they're a good family, obviously. I'm pretty sure you don't raise kids that excel at sports and things that take dedication without having some parents or somebody in their life that's a positive influence. So you got one kid that's wrecking Bentleys. He's having a little bit too much fun with the nose dust, the booger sugar. And you got the other brothers who's part of Super Bowls and all that. Hey, let's do a charity event. Let's get him out to the ranch, keep him from getting high for 6 months, and let's refocus on what we're about. It looks like that, and I think it would be a great idea because whenever people give back, you know how I feel about that. The rest of us out here living paycheck to paycheck, stop giving all this money to rehab clinics and lawyers and just let some of it trickle down to us common folk. We would love it.
Yeah, I'm all in favor of that. Mm-hmm. Like Dez Bryant, who we were just talking about, is upset about a franchise tag. Do you know what that actually means? $12.8 million.
Yep.
That's a problem I could probably deal with having.
Oh, I could deal with that problem all day. And another thing, too, does anybody make it rain anymore? Did the NFL throw that out? That used to be their charity. That's how they would give out. You'd know if an NFL player was going to some strip club or party club, you'd go hit it up and just wait for them to start making it rain, baby.
I saw on some website the other day, somebody built like a little, almost like a Nerf gun, except you load like a stack of $1 bills into it, and it makes it rain with the gun.
That is tight.
Yeah. Well, I would say I'd like one of those, but it would have to like fire pennies.
Yeah, and it'd get dangerous.
Shooting strippers with pennies. Ow! Look at that, jackass.
Oh, gosh.
Well, unfortunately, they're being buzzkills about this potential fight because TMZ apparently reached out to somebody in the front office of the Patriots, and they said it's not a matter of if we'd allow Chandler to fight his brother. We can't stop the players from doing what they want, but he might be voiding his contract obligations to the team if he went out and did it.
Oh, yeah.
Darn it.
They're always going to say that stuff. The no fun league. That's why they call it that.
Come on, guys. We got the Klitschkos that have been refusing to fight each other forever. Now we have two brothers that actually want to go at each other, and a contract standing in the way.
Yeah.
We are just being deprived of good fights left and right.
Contracts.
Thought this was America.
Land of the free, home of the brave, and sausage.
All right. Well, that was kind of a short segment. We're going to make it up to you folks. Coming up, Bo's going to explain why, even if you're not a race fan, you should be watching the Daytona 500 this weekend. Plus, more bad news for Anderson Silva, and I'll try to convince Bo that he needs to go on a one-way trip to Mars. It's all coming up on the Sean and Bo Show.
This is Bo from the Sean and Bo Show. Just reminding all you loyal listeners out there, make sure you get out there and subscribe to the show on iTunes. Check us out, review the show, and leave some comments. How am I ever going to know what you guys want to talk about or what kind of sausage you like to eat if you don't leave one comment for us? Again, check us out on iTunes, Sean and Bo Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Sean and Bo Show. Bo, as we've discussed, is from Indiana, a little place where they love their racing. And, I'm not a huge NASCAR guy. I'll watch a few races throughout the season just because it's sports and I'm a fiend. But, Bo, if you were to try to convince somebody, if you were to try to sell somebody on the idea of sitting down for 4 or 5 hours and watching Daytona 500 this weekend, why should they do it?
Well, it's real simple. If you need an excuse to eat and drink alcohol for 5 hours and say it's all because of this race you're watching, that's what NASCAR gives to you people. And this is the best part. This is my favorite part. Everybody said, oh, they're just driving in circles. I can't watch them cars driving. That's what everybody in my neighborhood always says when they move in or when I first move into a new neighborhood. Then they start to smell the barbecue. It brings them in. Their nose will lead them across the street. And they're like, what's that sound coming out of the garage? Because you can't watch NASCAR on like volume 20. You got to have it up like 85. Yeah. Because I'm a Dell Jr. fan, my TV's always set to 88. It's a superstitious thing or probably because I'm gambling.
Not to interrupt, but what were you telling me about Dale Jr.? About his musical tastes?
Yeah, Dale Jr. It was doing some interview with him because they're trying to promote the race. I thought it was really hilarious that he loves Barry Manilow and any type of rap. And I'm like, that sounds like a guy from the South. Like, they always have something weird that they like, and then hip hop, you know. And Mark Martin, he's 56 years old, and they went into his trailer as a rain delay a year ago or 2 years ago. He's sitting in his trailer, and you're thinking they're just jumping in on people to see what kind of music they're listening to or what video games they're playing during the rain delay. Mark Martin, guess what he was listening to?
NWA.
Gucci Man. He tells him, I love that Gucci Man. That's just the South, man. And, you know, I love NASCAR because my grandfather he built cars. He actually built a few stock cars for dirt tracks. And a lot of these tracks that are running today that have asphalt, they were once dirt. I know people don't get into this sport. I think the last time they were on primetime TV got a lower rating than a hockey match. I know people, they do go in circles, and you think it's boring because everybody's from the South, and there's not a lot of exciting things going on there if you're not from there. But I'm telling you, if you like to drink, if you like to have a good time, football doesn't even give you this. I literally start the party around noon, 11 o'clock, my time, and this race doesn't end, and people are not leaving and going home till like 6.
It's a whole day affair.
It's a party.
It sounds like something made for a smoker.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have a smoker in your backyard with a big chunk of meat on there, you're missing half the enjoyment.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where you see the Kingsford commercial. That's a perfect example. It says slow down and grill. That's what NASCAR makes you do. Football hits me in 2 hours, and then it's over. It's like I get 2-hour segments, and then it's gone, and I'm watching teams that I don't care about. NASCAR, there's wrecks. There's always some sort of fight on pit road, and I get a buzz. That's all I'm going to say, people.
And that's actually a good point. With football, it's like intense. You know, it's not like baseball or a sport like racing where you can kind of drift in and out. Football, you go out into the kitchen, you might miss some crazy catch from Odell Beckham Jr. or something like that.
Yeah.
This is more of like a relaxed type of, you know, enjoy yourself, enjoy your friends. You get to have some conversation, talk some smack in between, watching the event itself. So
yeah, and what's funny is the guys that are involved with NASCAR, they've actually figured out that football is pretty much the only reason people are watching their sport because it's not on. They're just like, oh, these guys were thinking football was on this channel, and now they're stuck watching this race. So they've actually started to put that together. They're bringing more football guys around. You'll see there's a Talladega race where they'll put a Florida car out there and an Alabama car, you know, just things like that because they know there's tons of SEC fans.
Oh, that's smart right there.
Yeah, they should just do that from here on out. Do like an NFL weekend in NASCAR. Just let the cars bang into each other. The fans would watch just because they had a Cowboys car, a Eagles car.
Or no, how about this? How about this? For whatever team affiliated car you have, a current player from that team has to ride shotgun.
Oh, that'd be hilarious. You like pick the guy that you know grew up in an inner city that probably just rode a train his whole life, so he's never been over 80 miles an hour.
No. Picture Dez Bryant in a NASCAR throwing a damn
You better
tantrum.
slow down, dog. Hey, look at that car. They're slow down.
Oh, that's a ticket right there.
Yeah. And if you've never been to a NASCAR race, a lot of people don't know this. It is the last BYOB sporting event you can go to.
Walk into a NASCAR race with a cooler, right?
Yeah, I had a cooler. I was at Texas Motor Speedway, had a cooler around my neck, and I asked the young lady, I was kind of nervous because they bring the Texas, what's the guys with
State
the white
troopers?
hats? No, the real scary ones. The Walker Texas Ranger. Yeah, that's it. The Rangers.
Texas Rangers,
Yeah, they had the Texas Rangers out there, and you're like, uh-oh, I don't know if I can take this. So you got your cooler. And this nice Texan lady says to me with a smile on her face, "Is that all you can carry, son?" And I'm like, is this a joke? So I grabbed my ticket back from her, went back to the parking lot, had a handle in the car, got the beers that I could sit on top of the cooler while it was strapped to my side, and I just put them with my hand resting on the top so they wouldn't fall. So I got like an extra 8 beers in there and a half gallon of whiskey. And she's like, that's more like it. And me and all the people sitting there near the start-finish line at Texas Motor Speedway, let's just say if I was going to get some sort of weird Texas lip disease, that would have been the weekend because I was sharing that half gallon with just about everybody. It was wild. Fun time.
Yeah, and isn't like, don't they try to make it a little bit more affordable too to actually go to it in person? Like the food's not like
20 it's $20 to get into a race.
Yeah.
Some of these races you can go sit on the back stretch for 19, $15. Your food's not going to kill you because they let you bring stuff in. If you're a smart guy, you're going to put a ham sandwich in the bottom of that cooler, save a few bucks. But I think it's a cool sport because you're outside and they know it's going to take a long time. So they have to do that. Could you imagine if they did that at, I don't know, any NFL game?
People would be dying.
Yeah. Someone just committed suicide in the upper deck. Romo threw another pick. He couldn't handle it anymore. He just jumped. This man.
Like even at baseball, they cut off beer sales, in the seventh inning. So that's an interesting thing, how much it's different, especially when you consider like your stereotypical NASCAR fan.
That's something that I've always brought up with people.
It's
And
like,
then
how are
here's
there
another
not big
thing too.
problems at these events?
This is another thing.
I don't think I've ever heard of something like, giant drunken brawl going on,
Besides, and that's another thing. I am African American. I walked through these pit roads with Confederate flags everywhere. Never, ever been in an instance. It actually, we should do like one of those hidden camera YouTube deals. Send me to a NASCAR race as a black guy and see if everybody's just being overly nice because they don't want me to tweet out that I hated it. And then we'll send you and we'll see if everybody's just a jackass to you. Like giving me special treatment. Oh, we got one coming over here. Make sure this guy gets to the front of the line, Bob.
Code black.
Yeah,
Code black.
That's what it is.
Oh, man. More bad news for the UFC. Anderson Silva, who had failed that initial drug test following his fight with Diaz, has been popped again, Bo. He's failed another drug test. Tested positive for a steroid and also temazepam, which is a anti-anxiety medication that ESPN says is commonly used to treat sleep deprivation. So the test was administered by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, and an official told ESPN, "I can't speak for the chairman, nor can I speak for the commissioners, but something I find particularly concerning is that Silva tested positive on January 9th, and then he tested negative on January 19th. If he took this orally, it only stays in your system 5 to 7 days. So obviously, he used it sometime around January 9th, and then he used it shortly before the night of the fight. Whether the commission finds this egregious, that he tested positive twice out of the 3 times, is up to them. I certainly find it concerning and unacceptable. It gives an unfair advantage to the person on that. God forbid a serious injury were to occur to an opponent when someone is on something."
Yeah, that's true. That's why they're out there to protect the athletes, not only from each other, but from themselves. That stuff's not good for your heart, buddy. It's going to come back and bite you one day. It's hard enough to be an athlete and put yourself through the rigorous trainings that you're involved in, whether you're wrestling, football, cross country, doesn't matter. Then you're going to go and let's pump a steroid in there and make my heart grow a little bit while we're at it. That's just not a good idea. You need to protect the athletes from themselves and from each other. And to fail that third test, when I looked at that timeline, it blew me away. It said second test, but then it said he failed the third one, so it all made sense once I realized he came up clean in the middle.
Yeah.
That was weird to me, but
very interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting on how he's able to do that, and I'm pretty sure we're going to find out. But what I took from that story, he was looking at 9-month suspension, but now that it's out that he did fail the third test for the second time, we may not see Silva again. It could be long enough.
He makes the sport too much money. We'll see Silva again.
Yeah, you think though? I'm not talking about seeing him again due to Dana White not allowing him to fight in Nevada State Commission, whatever. It's just his age. And then now, well, what do? Does he take steroids for the year he's off and work out and then stop taking them 2 months before? Does he just...
Hey, so he's 39 years old.
He's old.
Yeah.
He's not Randy Couture. He's not out there chopping wood and sleeping in the Oregon mountains for fun. This dude lives in a mansion down in the beach.
Yep.
I think he's done. I think this does it.
You know what's particularly troubling to me as a fight fan, Bo, is that this is obviously a huge, pardon the pun, black eye for the UFC. They're going to have to get this under wraps, obviously, for the legitimacy of the sport.
Yep.
But I wonder if we're going to see a scenario like we saw in baseball, which when they took the juice out of the sport, the product on the field substantially changed. Are we going to see a UFC 3, 4, 5 years from now that's like way more boring, where they're just holding on to each other the whole time?
It's not that. I think it'll get better, and I'm going to take you back to
What
the
about
days.
or what about recovery time? Like that's a big part of the reason why an athlete would take steroids also.
Yeah.
So are we going to see less, a less frequency in fights?
I just believe the reason the sport became the way it was, Silva's able to dominate. These guys could stay on top for so long. It answers the question now. Now I'm looking back at the Sonnen fight, another fight, and I'm like, Sonnen won that to me. I don't.
Well, Sonnen self-admittedly, he tweeted out the other day that he was what was it? Oh, he was on more juice than Jamba.
Oh yeah.
Like Sonnen has a pretty good podcast that I started listening to. It's called "You're Welcome."
Okay.
with Chael Sonnen, and he's pretty open about it these days.
Yeah.
Back then he was kind of trying to paint everything as a medical necessity for why he was taking the TRT and all that. But now he's a little bit more lax. He readily admits that he was cheating and got caught.
It all makes sense now, and I understand why me as a fight fan, I love this stuff when you still had to watch it on VHS tape. Or your buddy got it because his dad ordered it in a magazine. He's like, "Don't tell your mom I got these fights." What they used to be called back in the day? They weren't UFC. What was it? I always forget the name. King of the Cage, and there was another one. It was King of the Cage.
Strike Force.
I think that was it. The one that had Butterbean and all them out there beating each other in the cage.
Was it Bellator?
I think it's Bellator. It was Bellator. Because all I remember is like it being on VHS for a couple of years, and then my buddies had it on DVD because I had like these crazy wrestling fans. My hometown has a good wrestling program, so all these guys would watch this stuff because it was just devour it. And then as a football player, I really wasn't into it. It was exciting to me because you would watch one tape, a guy would get knocked out, and then he'd come back in the next tape, and he'd get knocked out by somebody else. What do you think created the UFC? They finally had champions that could stick around, and we now know why. I don't think the sport changes for the worse. I think it changes for the better. We can start ordering these fights again because every time there's a big card, I have the potential to see a new champion, see somebody get knocked out.
That's true. Yeah, there definitely might be a little bit more parity.
Yeah, it'll be great. I hated the years where the George St. Pierres, the Silvas could just run away with it. I'm still of the Chuck, Liddell, Forrest, kind of years where they were punching each other and you really didn't know who was going to win. It wasn't that technical. They're more backstreet brawlers with a few wrestling moves. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I just wonder, like that's like I was saying earlier. I think that the main thing, if they really, really clean up the UFC in particular, is you're not going to see fighters fighting 3 times in a year. I think it's just going to be a physical impossibility.
Yeah, and then you have to wonder how the contracts start to shape up because then they're going to want more money for one fight.
And I think that UFC just signed some sort of new endorsement deal with Reebok, which is like probably the most mainstream company that they've gotten in bed with there. So there's even more money, and the payoff from that sponsorship hasn't even started yet. But my understanding is like every fighter on every card is going to get a chunk of that money.
Yeah.
So
well, Rick Ross couldn't even make it work with Reebok, and I wonder how a bunch of roided up, overpaid fighters are going to make it work. I mean, Reebok dropped Rick Ross, and we know how rappers and shoe companies go. These guys here got John Bones Jones, reckon Bentley's doing cocaine, got championship fighters testing positive for PEDs. I don't see how this deal reaches any type of maturity.
Hey, speaking of Reebok, man, they haven't been cool since the pump. They need to bring back that gimmick.
That was bad. That was awesome. And their years with the NFL were like the darkest. People still like dislike those jerseys the most, the Reebok years.
Yeah.
They were horrible.
Yep. Well, your boy Doug Baldwin has finally apologized for his Super Bowl touchdown celebration. How are you framing that? What was the headline that you saw? That?
Well, if I was going to make the headline, I would have put it, Doug Baldwin apologizes for making number 2 after scoring 6. And that's what he did. He turned around and he just let it ride. If you saw it in the game like I did, I had no problem with it.
See, I thought he was going to go with the excuse, no, I wasn't doing that. I was laying an egg because
that's
we're a bird team, and that's what Birds do.
See, you need to be working in some of these guys' PR departments.
I'm available.
That would be great. That's more entertaining than his apology for basically doing something that makes every primetime TV show, like a Family Guy or a South Park, look like it's X-rated. If you can't see that a guy scored a touchdown after working hard and he just wanted to basically tell the guy he did it to, I took a big one on you in the Super Bowl. I'm fine with that. I am fine with that. I think these are the same people who got mad when the State of the Union address was going on and Obama said, I already won elections. There are some people in this country that just cannot handle you bragging.
Scoreboard.
Yeah, scoreboard. I played for a horrible high school football team in high school. Not in college, they were in high school, obviously. I used to hear that every Friday night. I'm out there killing kids. They hate me because I'm bigger than everybody else. But because nobody else on my team could play football, we're getting crushed every Friday. Scoreboard. Look at the scoreboard, 64. If I could line all those guys up who yelled scoreboard at me in high school, let's fight. Let's do that for charity.
Well, I think it's time for me to do something that none of these poor people that are going to Mars are ever going to be able to do again, and that is enjoy a nice cold one. You saw this story, Bo.
Yeah.
Mars One. It's a nonprofit out of Denmark, somewhere in Europe, that their mission is to establish a colony on Mars. So they basically anybody could sign up. They whittled down the thousands and thousands of applicants to a final 100, and they have just announced this list. So by 2024, they hope to be sending people on a one-way trip to Mars. Now, I was thinking about all the stuff that you could never do again.
Yeah.
Probably no sports. You're not eating a nice fresh steak. You're never going to go fishing or hunting again. There's a lot of downside here. And I got to say, if I'm being honest, I'm looking at these pictures, some of these people signing up.
Ugh.
Yeesh. I mean, maybe inject some entertainers of some sort into this final 100. Because, I mean,
I'm pretty sure there's some ladies that do some dancing for a living that could get out of some probation or parole or maybe some sentencing.
Yeah, NFL cheerleaders, exactly.
There you go. That you could send up there.
But geez, man, you'd have to really love Tang.
There's no tobacco.
I'm talking about the beverage, by the way.
There is no alcohol. There's no fat foods, no cholesterol, the stuff we live off of.
You're eating that crappy astronaut ice cream every day.
And then even after you get the little incubator and ecosystem going and you're able to grow the first tomato, you don't know what that tomato's going to be like. You have never grown a tomato on Mars. That could be a wet tomato. It could be a hard tomato. We have no idea. You're just going up there because you want to be first. And I want these people who are out there listening and plan on going on this show, Sean, or on this trip.
They should make a show.
A reality show would be awesome. Look at the history of ones in spaceflight. Never good.
That's not a good thing you want to be a part of. But
yeah.
I found it interesting that it wasn't just like science geeks that were signing up for this. Like this young lady here, who's probably the most attractive of the bunch.
Yeah.
27-year-old manager who says she's not even into science really. Quote, I applied because it's the ultimate opportunity. I want to be able to go down in history. I want to be able to say I made a difference in the future of mankind.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I mean, what would it take?
It's a $6 billion trip. I just don't see that being too feasible for a lot of mankind.
Imagine if you're on the first trip and you get there safely. Imagine how excited you would be for that next group of people to show up.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I'm so tired of these damn people. Give me some fresh blood.
They would be so afraid. They would have to prepare those people. Like, you guys got to keep in mind, these people have not seen anybody else for like 17 years. Oh gosh. And then, like you said, you really have to love Tang. You do.
Yeah. God, there's so many problems that could arise, though. Like
the first murder. What's going to be the first murder?
Jealousy over a female. I mean,
yeah,
things could get dicey out there in Mars pretty damn quick.
And then here's another thing too. I want to see the official list because I'm just sorry. There's some groups of people on this planet that do not need to be on another planet together. We need
I
to.
wonder how they deal with all that.
That's what I'm trying to put that out there. I'm like, somebody is gonna get off of that spaceship and they're gonna run over and they're gonna pull a crucifix out and try and put a cross up. And then somebody's gonna go throw the Star of David on that rock, and then we're gonna have the same problems up there that we have down here.
I didn't think about that, but like hypothetically, Bo, if they had their checkbook out, okay, and you could hook your family up, they got all the money because obviously you're going to Mars and couldn't spend it.
Don't need it.
Is there a number?
No.
No, wouldn't do it.
No, this planet is just way too cool. There's so many things I have not done. I think it would be cool. Don't get me wrong. I love space. I sit here and talk about aliens when I have my tinfoil hat on. And I want every person out there who does not believe in aliens, keep this in mind. A bunch of people who were living in huts without electricity a couple hundred years ago are now getting ready to send a ship full of people to Mars. This whole alien thing is not that far-fetched, because if we can do it, anybody else can do it. We're like the most unfocused people in the universe. If there are others out there, human beings have to be the most unfocused. So the fact we're getting there is great. But as far as this life and what I want to do here, until they're like, Bo, we have the deal of a lifetime. We just built a 165,000 seat stadium on Mars. We want you to be the first head coach of the Mars juggernauts. Like, yes, that's why Bo would go up there, because I would be able to do something that I'm passionate about. I'm pretty sure we're going to find out about this group of people. Every one of them has some sort of purpose or something they want to do. But for a guy like me, I can't go up there and play Madden and play football, so I'm done.
I don't even think you can smoke ribs in the atmosphere of Mars.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even think about that. There's a lot of things that I hope all of these people in that interview process, when they said, do you have any questions for us? I hope they got all their questions out there. Like, there's going to be a guy trying to sneak drugs.
Imagine this scenario, okay? They have a couple of successful trips up there. They get this colony growing. This is a perfect idea for a horror movie. You're on the next spaceship up. You get there. Everybody's dead.
Yes. Love
Imagine
those movies.
Imagine walking off that spaceship. I've made a terrible mistake.
Or like, think if you're the guy that's like trying to sneak narcotics up there and you're on the ship before it takes off. You're like, so I'm just saying, hypothetically, if I was to take something, nobody else is going to want any, right? Don't make me get all the way up there and tell me you like to smoke too. Like, can you imagine this situation?
All right. Well, before we get out of here, a programming note. I'm very excited about this. Next week on the show, we were talking about Chael Sonnen earlier. But I don't know if you're a fan of the Jim Rome radio show, but they have this once-a-year contest for the callers called the Smack Off, where they basically just talk a bunch of crap to each other. And last year's co-champions were Chael Sonnen and this guy who's going to be on the show next week, the one and only Mike in Indy.
Yes, sir.
This guy is straight up hilarious. Once I found out we got him booked for sure, I was watching some of his. If you go on YouTube, you can like find old calls to the Smack Off. Oh man,
Oh, they're hilarious.
oh so funny.
I was getting the family turned on him this weekend, and I've heard of the guy before. I just think it's cool. Get to talk to him. He is, you told me, the Don of the Midwest Mafia.
That's correct.
I'm hoping that I am at least a candidate.
Yeah, we'll be foot soldiers or something in that endeavor. But
do the dirty work our way up from the bottom.
yeah, you're gonna
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
You're going to be like a pagan slop. You're going to have another Midwestern guy on the show to talk about Indiana with. So
It's going to be great.
be sure to tune in for Mike and Indy on next week's show. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Sean and Bo Show. As always, I'm Sean O'Donnell along with my co-host, Bo Greer, reminding you, tip your pizza man.
See you next week.